URA board. I'm Amani Walker. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the Redevelopment Authority, and I'd like to welcome you on behalf of Executive Director Greg Flistrom and Chairman Sam Williamson. I do believe that Chairman Williamson is here with us, and we are waiting for a few other board members, and we will have a quorum.
Good afternoon. Looks like we've got Jody and Daniel.
Also here.
And Director Powell is connecting her audio.
Here.
All right, I think everybody looks like all 5 board members are present. I'm Sam Williamson, and I think everything is ready to go. We can convene the September 9th, 2021 regular board meeting of the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh. Let the record show all 5 members of the board are present, so no roll call is really necessary. First really order of business will be approval of the minutes from both the June 17th and August 12th board meetings.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carried. And then we can move right into public comment. I know we have a handful of registrants at public comment. We got a lot of submissions of written comment, which we are no longer reading out loud in the board meetings because we have live public comment available. But they have been all the public comment that we received in writing has been distributed to the whole board, is available on the URA's website for members of the public. And there was, I'll just summarize, we got a lot of submissions regarding the Skinny building. Over 50 people wrote in about the Skinny building. We got a handful of submissions about the Woods Village project in Hazelwood, and I think one regarding the Amani Christian Community Development Corporation and 5th and Dinwiddie project. I believe those are all the written public comment submissions that we received. But why don't we go to live public comment? I don't know who's handling that. What I've got is that the first live public comment registrant is Eric Cook.
Yes, it doesn't appear that Eric is on yet, so let's move to, I'm looking who is on. Pastor Love is on, so I will allow him to speak at this time. Pastor Love, you have, once you begin starting, you have 3 minutes. I'll let you know when you've about 10 seconds left.
Pastor, you've got to unmute yourself. You should have that ability.
While the pastor is figuring that out, let's see. Sandra Cole. Are you on, Sandra? Sandra? Where did that
Sandra,
go?
you were unmuted, now you're muted again.
There you go.
Oh.
You have 3
Hello.
minutes.
There you go. we can
Oh,
hear you.
It's my turn now.
Yes.
I was trying to figure this out because I'm confused, but that's okay.
You got it. We can hear you now. So go ahead.
Okay, so my take on the Oak Moss development. I'm a long-term resident from the Hazelwood community, and I've been here a long time. And where he wants to develop used to be families there, families like 3 and 4 bedroom family homes that was there. And at that time, that's when the community was a village. It's when it was a village. And that's what we're trying to bring back into our Hazelwood community. Sense of village, people taking care and looking after one another. And I believe that that area, I support him 100% with that area that he wants to develop up there. And not only do he want to develop, he don't just want to develop the brick and mortar, but he also want to develop the people who's inside our community. And that's a lot of times that people get overlooked. But I believe with his project, he's bringing a whole package. And this package that he's bringing, we haven't had in a long time in our community. He supports our community. He's been to several meetings in our community to make sure that our voices are included in his development. So my take on this development and the residents that I do help out throughout this community, they are pretty much standing with Mr. Krish on this development because it is family oriented. So my take on it is that I would support, as well as the families who support Poor Laws for organization. We support his development out in our community, and I think that it will help build the people that has been forgotten about out in our community. So that's what I'm hoping that he does get the votes that he needs to bring this development, because it would definitely uplift the people versus the brick and mortar. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I believe Pastor Love is still having some difficulty getting unmuted. Adelaide is trying to help him out with that. In the meantime, let's see. I believe Michael Wilson is next. Michael, you're now able to speak, so your 3 minutes will begin when you begin talking.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate the opportunity to voice my opinion around this matter. As you said, my name is Michael Wilson, and I'm a over 20 plus year resident of the greater Hazelwood community. Today, I'm representing the residents of Glen Hazel and public housing residents, low-income residents in the greater Hazelwood community. As it relates to the Oak Moss development team, they have made a sincere effort to reach out to the entire community. Over the past 6 to 9 months, they've actually attended no fewer than 6 public meetings across various community development groups in the greater Hazelwood area, as well as has formed a project steering committee for ongoing community engagement. They have also shared the master plan, for their site, their townhouse unit concept, and all the relevant details of the development. In addition, they have also listened very carefully to what we, the residents, have been saying and made changes in their plans and designs to align with what the community needs and wants were. They've also formed a steering committee of any interested community residents to meet regularly and to voice their community concerns that might influence their plans. Two meetings of the steering committee held were very well attended. And if we can have all of our developers that come into our community be as sincere in their approach and be as sure in their follow-up as it relates to the promises that they make coming in, that stuff needs to match up to the work that they're doing. And you know, we feel is Oak Moss has done just that and can possibly be a model for other developers as, you know, coming into our neighborhood. You know, that would be a great a benchmark, right? Standard operating procedure to understand that the people in the community need lifted up just like the buildings need lifted up, and the people need some pre-work. You know, they have taken the initiative to operate their own workforce development right out of their own profits, you know. So if that's the stage and if that is what they're bringing to our neighborhood, anyone that goes against that development into our neighborhood obviously do not have the people of our community's best interests at heart. And you know, I would like to just reiterate the fact in case you missed it, but we are for Oak Moss development team
10
proceeding to the
seconds.
next step and the development phase of the Woods Village project.
Okay, thank
Thank you,
you.
Michael.
Pastor Love has been able to get his audio issue worked out. So
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, you have 3 minutes. Please begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much, and praise the Lord, everybody. I'm Pastor Love. I'm the pastor of Praise Temple Deliverance Church in Hazelwood. I'm also the senior development consultant for Poor Law and the co-founder and senior coordinator for the Greater Hazelwood Coalition Against Racial and Ethnic Disparities. For the past several months, I've been working with the Oakmont Development, Mr. Krish, and we've been attending his meetings that he had in the community. He actually changed his design at least 3 times since we first started meeting. So it goes to show you that he has been listening to the community. He's also actively involved in other developments in our community, assisting us in trying to reach a position of diversity, equity, and inclusion as we move forward. I know that we're not calling to support his development. I want to make that clear, but I'm calling to support his opportunity to move forward so that he will get to a point where he can submit something that we can support or not support. We feel that it's unfair for a city-owned person, a businessman, to get that opportunity, and then instead of giving the opportunity to other people like City Bridges and other people who are not from Pittsburgh to come out and do the 4800 block in Hazelwood, and they got the opportunity at least to move forward. So all we're asking for is he get the same opportunity that you afforded everyone else out there in the 4800 block and the developments going on in Hazelwood to be able to go forward and present himself and present a project that may be worthy in our community. So he also is involved with workforce development currently in our community. He's in activities to help us get jobs, development of an equity one-stop shop that he has volunteered for, had his contractors volunteer, and architects come in just to assist us. So he's doing more than just looking for some cash and run. So we're asking you to give him an opportunity to be able, the same opportunity you gave everyone else, to be fair, and transparent. People who got opportunity. We don't think that one organization should have the right to choose who are developers, who are not developers for our community. we believe that everybody should have a right to give input. So we hope that you take our input to the same grain of salt as the other people that the other organization that doesn't want them. And we believe it's a conflict of interest anyway. So
About 10 seconds.
Sir?
You have about 10 seconds left.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I don't. So we ask that you just give him the same opportunity that other developers have been given by the URA to present a chance to present his project. Thank you very much to everybody for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Patrick Clark. Patrick, you should now be able to unmute yourself, and your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all? Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak a piece on the skinny building proposal. By way of background, I'm the founder and principal of Jackson Clark Partners. We've worked over the years extensively with the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and have had great relationships with you over the years on a client basis. Prior to then, I was an adversary of the URA. During the Murphy administration, I was one of the principal activists who fought the Fifth Forbes program that was developed by a number of organizations in the region at the behest of former Mayor Tom Murphy. And part of that initiative was finding those things within the footprint of Fifth Forbes downtown that were of value and that we could point to as a reason to maintain what was at the time a thriving downtown business district and has continued to be so since then as a result of activists successfully stopping the plan for Fifth Forbes. And I was very proud to be a part of that. Part of the reason we wanted to do that was to bring relevance to the community that used downtown and still does. And I would point out, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that one of the core arguments of maintaining the downtown footprint and preventing it from becoming a mall that wasn't supposed to be a mall because it would look like they were just what they just tore down, which made no sense to me, is that it was the principal shopping district for a large percentage of Pittsburgh's African-American population. And I bring that up specifically because the skinny building itself has a tradition of being one of the few remaining structures, especially in downtown Pittsburgh, that has a relevant history to the African-American community. I think that's important in pointing out that my concern about a proposal where the URA would develop that property is in the integrity of the structure itself. There are many opportunities, I think, where a facade, and I'm not an architect, so I don't presume to be an expert on it, but where a retention of a facade would be important. In this case, it means nothing. The integrity of the building is the structure itself. On our research way back in the day, 2000, 2001, when we had a sublease to put art into that facility, we found that it in fact was arguably the skinniest sliver building in the world, certainly a commercial building. And if all you have left is the facade, that goes away. I'll say what I said at the time. Downtown Pittsburgh is a remarkable jewel. And the more we degrade those structures downtown that are important, the less of a jewel we're left with. And I have to say, the people are the critical portion of this. That's where I've spent my work, not on saving buildings. And I think the people of Pittsburgh deserve to retain this skinny building in its entirety. Thank you.
Next up is Dean Bogg.
Hello.
Hi, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm speaking on the wood development, the Woods Village development. Yeah, can everybody hear me? Or can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to speak just as someone who supports kind of the preservation of the green spaces here in Pittsburgh, I don't know much about the developer, and if they are, you know, someone who is going to do something good for the community, then I definitely would support their development. I just don't think that that forest is the appropriate place for it. Speaking with some of the environmentalists of Hazelwood, they seem to be against development in that forest because it is such an important connector for that greenway. In the in the words of Matt Peters, you know, we're a city of bridges, and that strip of forest is very much a bridge that connects the greenway into Shenley. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity for development in Hazelwood where it is more appropriate. But to me, destroying that forest seems so counterintuitive. I think that forest there is so valuable. It's so beautiful. It's healthy. It's young. You know, I'm for dense cities. I'm not. This is not a NIMBY thing. This is not a not in my backyard thing. But it just doesn't make sense to wipe that forest down when there is so much land available elsewhere that is ripe for development. I think that, you know, it doesn't seem like much, but this is global warming and climate change on a microscopic scale. Yeah, so again, I would support, if the community members feel that it's a good development, then I'm for it. I just don't think that that forest is a good spot for it. And I hope that that forest is preserved because it is extremely important to the area and to the city. Thank you.
Okay, the last two registered public comments were Jill Diskin and Eric Cook. I don't see either of you in the meeting room. So if you are in the meeting room and perhaps listed under a different name, could you please raise your Zoom hand? Or send us a chat in the Q&A. It doesn't look like they are present. That is all registered public comment.
Joan Stone, a registrant, she had something she just said in the chat, me too.
Oh, she's the ASL interpreter. I was just letting her know when she joined that we were all on the meeting.
Okay. Okay, so that I think concludes public comment for today's meeting. As I said, there were a significant number of written submissions as well, in addition to what we just heard live. 50 or so were regarding the Skinny building, which we'll talk about when we get to it on the agenda. Another 9, I think, were regarding the Oak Moss development, which we will also hear about more about today. And then the final one was from the Hill CDC regarding the Amani CDC and 5th and Dinwiddie projects. So with that, I think we can move on to the rest of today's agenda, beginning with Center Avenue, I think. Yep. So I think, is Chuck Alcorn the primary presenter here?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Chuck Alcorn, Project Development Manager, presenting the New Granada office building proposed by New Granada Development, LLC, an affiliate of the Hill CDC. Authorization is required to enter exclusive negotiations for 4 URA-owned vacant parcels, and it's just west of a historic New Granada theater. The project will include 21,000 square feet of office space, first floor retail space, rooftop deck, and 14 integrated parking spaces. This project is part of a redevelopment of a New Granada theater block. A few storefronts down the street includes the now under construction New Granada apartments with affordable housing. The historic New Granada theater itself is also being renovated separately, but the new office building will be connected to a theater. This exclusive negotiation period is for 6 months, but the development is anticipated to come back soon to the URA board for approval of a proposal package, and then again for final approval of construction drawings and evidence of financing. Marimba Malayans from the Hill CDC should be in attendance if there are any questions.
Marimba, do you want to add anything?
Thank you for considering this project today. As you all know, this is the catalyst for the redevelopment of Center Avenue relative to its size, its scale, and its historic importance to the Center Avenue corridor. This is one building, which is a part of an entire block transformation. And so we're really eager to move forward. As you can see from the connector there in the picture, this is connected to the historic building. And we are working on this project comprehensively as one development, but we cannot do that without the parcels that are here represented in this picture where the New Granada office building sits. And so we appreciate your consideration and we are eager to move forward, and we appreciate the support of the URA staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the board? So this is the beginning of exclusive negotiations, so we'll see this a number of times before final action. If there are no questions, then a motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are very open about our team and the people who have.
And staying on Center Avenue, we've got the Amani Christian Community Development Corporation project.
Once again, we are.
Hi, I'm Leah Matthews, and today I'm requesting authorization for the proposal and form of contract for the sale of 3 URA-owned parcels in the 5th Ward to Amani Christian Community Development Corporation or a related entity for $27,300 plus cost. The Amani project will rehabilitate the African Queens building and construct an 18,000 square foot mixed-use building that will include first floor commercial space and 12 affordable residential units above. There will be 9 one-bedroom units and 3 two-bedroom units. The total development cost is estimated to be $4.9 million. When presented at the District 6 community meeting last September, the project received an approval score of 95%. The Amani project is part of the larger Center Avenue request for qualifications process. The goal of the process is to revitalize the Center Avenue corridor with development projects that align with the neighborhood plan and keep community ownership in mind while building the development capacity of local developers. The other priorities of this process include building upon the African American cultural legacy of the Hill District and fostering economic empowerment. Amani Christian will be the 4th developer out of the 7 participating in the process to come to the board for proposal acceptance. I have Reverend Walls here with me today to answer any questions the board may have.
No questions, Councilman?
No, I don't have any questions. But I do want to congratulate Mr. Walls, thank him for his willing to stick with this. It's been a long process, but I'm grateful for him to sticking with it. Also, just want to say congratulations to the Hill CDC on the prior one that came before us.
Thank you. I want to note and acknowledge for the record that the public comment we received from the CDC on this project was principally thanking the URA and Amani for completing the DRP process for this project. Any other comments, questions, thoughts about this proposal?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So we've got one residential lending project to consider in East Hills today. And I think Shayna Madden is going to present on this one.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Shayna Madden, and I am the Acting Director of the Housing Lending Department. We have two authorizations for your consideration today related to the Second East Hills Phase 1 Regen redevelopment. Please note that there is a typo in the agenda. The project is titled Second East Hills Phase 1 Regen, not Second East Hills Phase 2 Regen. The two authorizations are final authorization to issue multifamily bonds in an amount up to $12 million for the Second East Hills Phase 1 Regen redevelopment, and authorization for the Prestigious Hills LP or a related entity to assume a $390,000 rental housing development and improvement loan from the East Hills Limited Partnership that closed on August 14th, 2004. First, I'll give you a little bit of background about the development, and then I'll take a deeper dive into the financial components of the authorizations. Second East Hills Phase 1 Regen is a 117-unit community located in the East Hills neighborhood. Originally built in 1969, this multifamily community is part of a larger 404-unit phase development. The proposed phase is comprised of 29 buildings that house 87 three-bedroom units and 34 bedroom units. 93 units will be rented to households at or below 50% area median income, and 24 units will be rented to households at or below 30% AMI. All units are supported with a long-term HUD Housing Assistance Program Section 8 contract. Telesis, the owner-developer, acquired the property in 2004 and completed a major rehabilitation utilizing 9% low-income housing tax credits. More than 15 years later, these units now require new investment to continue to provide safe and healthy living environments for the residents. The redevelopment will occur through the 4% low-income housing tax credit program. The total development cost is approximately $22.3 million with a cost per unit of $190,000. The 4% tax credit program is non-competitive and requires partnering the equity with tax-exempt bonds, which is what we're here to discuss today. The tax-exempt bonds are debt obligations issued by state or local government agencies such as the URA for multifamily affordable rental housing. The IRS code allows the purchasers of these bonds to deduct the interest income from the federal gross income taxes. As a result, the interest rate on tax-exempt bonds is lower than conventional bank financing, typically by about 2%. So the bank that purchases the bonds that the URA issues is able to lend the funds to the project, which will finance the renovation activities at a lower interest rate. The project equity that can be raised through the 4% tax credits, along with lower interest rates produced through the tax-exempt bonds, are great financing tools to support affordable housing. Through this program, 117 units will be preserved for an additional 40 years. Final authorization is now requested for the issuance of the tax-exempt bonds in the amount of $12 million. The bonds will be publicly placed with Stifel International as the underwriter, Zions Bank as the trustee, and Clark Hill as bond counsel. The project is slated to close by the end of 2021. The current owner of Second East Hills Phase 1 Regen is a limited partnership called East Hills LP. A new limited partnership, Prestigious Hills LP, is created to move the development forward. In addition to approving the bond inducement, Telesis is asking that the URA assign the existing URA debt on the property to this new entity. Max Glickman and Laura Lazarus of Telesis are both here today to answer any questions you may have on the project. Thank you.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Yes, Sam, I just want to thank Laura and Telesis. Prestigious Hills was a name that was selected by Connie Wells, and I know that they have been working for quite a bit on this development right here. I just want to let them know I appreciate them. They know, like I know, today was her funeral. She was a matriarch in East Hills for a long time. drove a lot of the first development. She passed away at the age of 73, and during the course of the funeral, it was brought up that she worked with Tellis Hills because she didn't want to name East Hills. She wanted to name Prestigious Hills. So first, I just want to congratulate Tellis and thank them for working with the community. And a leader like that being able to take her recommendation and make it happen. So I just want to congratulate them and say thank you.
Not a question, but an additional comment. As always, I have to point it out that there are multiple 3-bedroom units and 4-bedroom units, which is amazing to have, again, more affordable units for families and units more than one. One thing I think that's obviously outside of the purview of this board, but going forward, if we can continue and push other elected officials to continue to think about connectivity, these particular set of units are wonderful, but they are largely, kind of isolated, but also very hard to get to. There are only maybe 2 or 3 buses that go up there. And so moving forward, as we start to invest in other parts of our city, if we can encourage accessibility, connectivity, and ensure that for some of our other initiatives when it comes to either some of our small business lending or corridor revitalization, that we don't forget this particular project.
Thank you. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? If not, then I think a motion to approve would be in order.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so now we have a number of agenda items under development services. We'll start with the project. I think we're going back to South Alcorn.
Hi, back again to present the 5th and Dinwiddie project. Authorization is requested to accept the proposal package by 5th and Dinwiddie Development LLC for the redevelopment of 34 parcels on the eastern and western portion of 5th Avenue and Dinwiddie Street intersection. The eastern portion of the site will feature an adaptive reuse of a former DPW warehouse into commercial flexible space. The developer plans to add 2 stories to the roof of existing building, and that's going to be set back from a 5th Avenue frontage. The western portion of the site includes 2 new buildings joined by a 3-story sky bridge. This site will include commercial space, a new public plaza, and 171 mixed income apartments. 20% of the units will be affordable, ranging from 20% area median income to 60% AMI. In February 2019, the URA issued a request for proposals seeking redevelopment teams to purchase and redevelop this 5th and Dinwiddie site. The goal of the RFP was to implement the community-supported vision identified in the 2017 Uptown Eco-Innovation District Plan. At the July 2019 URA board meeting, the board authorized exclusive negotiations with the developer for this project. Derek Tillman is a managing partner of 5th and Dinwiddie Development LLC and should be in attendance if you have any questions. Thank you.
No questions, and on my part at least. I don't know if Derek wants to add anything or if other members of the board want to offer any comments or questions.
This isn't the last time we see this project, is it?
No, there will be a final approval of financing and construction drawings.
Okay. I know the URA staff and Derek have been working hard over the last probably 2 months to really move this forward. So I just want to thank everyone for their due diligence.
Yes, and I just wanted to add to that. It has been a lot of hard work to get to this point. So I really want to thank just the amazing development team, really working to really redefine what it means to bring about equitable, comprehensive community development. I also want to echo those comments to thank the URA board, URA staff, but also the board for their hard work and working with us to get to this, momentous occasion. So we're excited about this project, what it's going to mean to this community, but really what it's going to mean to the entire city. So again, thank you all.
Thank
Motion
you.
to
Sorry.
motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And now, the Skinny Building.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Adelaide Roddy, project manager with the URA Development Services. And next for your consideration is the Skinny Roberts Building proposal. Today, we are requesting authorization to accept the redevelopment proposal and enter into a disposition contract with PNC for the sale of the Skinny Roberts buildings located in Pittsburgh's Central Business District. Next slide, please. In 2013, the URA acquired the properties to save the buildings from demolition and spur growth downtown. Up until now, we've struggled to find anyone with a viable business plan capable of transforming the mostly vacant space into a bustling quarter. While an RCAP grant provided the buildings with a much needed facelift in 2014, they remain in need of repair and long-term management. Fortunately, we were lucky to identify PNC as a partner who's not only interested in activating the space, but would like to preserve the building's character. We've negotiated with them, done our due diligence, and we think we've struck a good deal for the city of Pittsburgh. PNC will step in and complete over $4 million in work to turn the upper floors of the Roberts building into flexible employee office space, as well as reconfigure the downstairs levels to provide incubator space that will house entrepreneurs and local businesses. PNC will also partner with a third-party art-based group to display art in the upper floors of the Skinny building overlooking Forbes Avenue. The art display will rotate at least annually and feature local artists and students. Jumpstarting the initiative will be the city of Pittsburgh, who will run a 6-month pop-up art exhibit starting next month that will honor African traditions. The URA will require PNC to partner with a preservation group to coordinate preservation activities at the buildings and ensure any facade or structural changes capture the spirit of the original design. Already, we've solicited input from the Pittsburgh Historic Landmark Foundation, PHLF, on the colors and materials to be used at the site. The URA will record a 99-year use restriction against the property to protect the buildings and prevent them from being demolished or altered. PHLF's legal counsel reviewed and provided comments on the draft deed restriction, which we've incorporated into the covenant agreement. The URA will retain air rights and transfer of development rights, prohibiting any further build out without URA consent. Finally, worth mentioning, this is only board action 2 of 3, and prior to conveyance, this will be presented to the board one more time. Here with us representing the development team is Alyssa, VP of PNC Realty Services, who will be happy to answer any questions.
Adelaide, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can.
Thank you so
Go ahead.
much. Can I say a few words?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. And thanks to the URA board, for allowing me to say a few words here. I'm a real estate developer at PNC, and I'm joined on the call today by our team in Realty Services. And most recently, we had the privilege to work with the URA and the city on Project CARES, the homeless shelter at 2nd Avenue Commons. And that project could not have been successful without the dedicated involvement of the URA, as they were very instrumental early on and continue to be throughout that project. So first and foremost, wanted to take the opportunity to thank the URA team for that. For the Roberts and Skinny building, as Adelaide said, it's our desire to continue to invest in our community and really continue to serve the people in Pittsburgh. We're very passionate about PNC continuing to play an important role in rejuvenating the downtown area through urban renewal. And with that, we want to see the Roberts and Skinny buildings preserved in a tasteful way that respects both the city's history and the building's history, yet makes them pleasant, safe, and productive places for our employees to come to work. So as you know, we're going through an enormous banking acquisition, and we have an opportunity to potentially bring a flexible work arrangement along with the piloting of new office concepts to the downtown area. And this may be able to serve that need as we grow. So we're excited about the project. We're excited to partner with students and a variety of artisans to display and highlight art in the upper floors of the Skinny building and preserve the details that make these buildings so special. The investment and again, the reuse of the buildings, such as Skinny and Roberts, is really how we believe we can collectively continue to attract and retain people in downtown Pittsburgh. So thank you, Adelaide, again, for all of your coordination on the project. Thank you to the URA staff and the board for all of their input and consideration here, and in partnering on projects like this and Second Avenue Commons for making Pittsburgh just a great place to want to visit and work and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it is probably pretty safe to say, based on the volume of public comment we got about this building, that the Skinny building is one of the most beloved buildings in the city of Pittsburgh. We got, some close to, including in the live public comment today, about 60 Pittsburghers took time out of their lives to let us know how they feel about this project. Some of the comments simply asked us not to discuss this at all today. I think what we've just heard, frankly, reinforces the need to have these kinds of things aired publicly in public board meetings like this, because it's my opinion, at least, that this plan as it stands, particularly a commitment from PNC to work with an approved upon preservationist partner to ensure that these buildings are protected into the future, actually meets most of the concerns, if not all of the concerns, that we heard from those public comment submissions, many of which simply said, we don't want to see the Skinny building destroyed, save the Skinny building from the wrecking ball. This is an important piece of Pittsburgh's heritage and history. We all agree that the Skinny building, and PNC agrees that the Skinny building is an important piece of Pittsburgh's history. And the intention here is, through this action, to ensure that it actually is preserved. And I think I just want to say one other thing, and then see if other board members want to add any additional thoughts or comments. But to me, this is a kind of an interesting view into like the actual use and purpose of the URA itself. In 2013, the URA intervened in order to acquire this building specifically so that it would be saved from the wrecking ball. It was actually very much in danger of being demolished when the URA acquired it. The purpose of the URA is to be able to intervene in our economy to achieve outcomes for the people of Pittsburgh that the free market on its own is not going to generate. And there are all kinds of outcomes that we need to intervene on, from affordable housing to income inequality to occupational segregation to the wealth gap, urgent needs, which the free market on its own is clearly not meeting and not able to meet. And so the purpose of the URA, in my opinion, is to intervene in the market and achieve those kinds of outcomes for the people of Pittsburgh that otherwise would not be achieved. And so one small example of that is when the URA intervened to acquire this building and save it from the wrecking ball back in 2013. Another example is what we could do with the $1.3 million that PNC will be paying for these buildings. And it's my opinion that we should affirmatively dedicate the proceeds from the sale of this building to mission-based work that will achieve equity for the people of Pittsburgh, either in the realm of affordable housing or Black business district development or quality job creation or something of the sorts. So those are my thoughts. Other board members want to get in here? Councilman?
Sure. One, I was going to ask, did you want to make that a formal motion?
Yes, I think we should.
Okay. So I concur with all of what you just said. However, I do want to make a motion to amend to add another condition. And this condition is really the result of a lot of conversations that many in the preservation community were having with my colleague, Councilwoman Gross, as well as State Representative Ed Gainey. And they work, and I believe this is acceptable to both the preservation community as well as PNC Bank. I don't believe has any objection. Would you like me to read it now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the additional condition being added would be as a condition precedent to closing, excuse me, PNC and or the redeveloper will enter into an agreement with a third-party preservation partner to provide guidance on preservation activities for the Skinny building. And I can certainly send that over in writing as well.
And if you can forward that to staff, that would be helpful to codify the resolution.
Will do.
Thank you.
So that's a motion to amend.
So procedurally, I think we can entertain a second on your motion to amend and then continue discussion. I think that's how that should work.
Agreed. Need a second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
I think so. A motion has been an amended motion has been presented, and now we can continue further discussion.
So in further discussion, I would also add to the amended motion that we use your suggestion that proceeds from the sale of this building go towards equity-based development, and let staff figure out what that looks like.
I agree with that. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, the alternative is simply to put it in the URA general funds, and I think this is money that we want to put to use, achieving equity on behalf of the people of Pittsburgh.
Just for clarity, is the discussion on the amendment or on the resolution at large?
On the amendment at the moment.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair.
So I will second the additional amendment. So now, Representative Gainey, do you want to get in here?
Yeah, just quickly, I just want to thank first I want to thank Councilman Lavelle. I want to thank Councilwoman Deb Gross, the preservation community, just for having a conversation about this and being able to come to a resolution. Sam, I want to thank you as well for coordinating the URA staff. It just shows you when we start talking to one another what we can do. So I just want to compliment everybody and congratulate everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Jody?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it sounds like there's some progress being made here that seems certainly on the right path. You know, clearly there's still some concerns and objections from the community. I kind of think the only reason I'm here is to represent the community, and so I'm not quite ready to vote yes on this. You know, obviously supportive of using revenue to, you know, fund equitable development, affordable housing. I'd like to see us not selling to banks, frankly, as much as it seems like we are. I'd love to talk about a community land trust in this situation, but that's kind of where I am.
Any other thoughts, any other comments or questions? So So we have a motion to approve with the amendments presented by Councilman Lavelle first regarding the memorandum of agreement on an appropriate preservationist partner, and second, that URA staff would work to direct the proceeds from the sale to appropriate mission-based, equity-driven investments of URA. Is there any further discussion of the amended motions? If not, then I will call the question. All those in favor of the amended motions? Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I think. Vote aye. Director Powell, did you vote aye?
I did.
Yeah. Representative Gainey?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. And all those opposed?
Post.
Hirsch? Okay.
Post.
So the motion carries with a tally of 4-1. The amended motion, I should say, carries with a tally of 4-1. And as previously noted, this will be back before us with those conditions all intact for one final action before any of the transaction is finalized. Thank you. I also want to thank, frankly, everybody who engaged in this process. This is exactly why we have public board meetings, why the URA is a public entity, is so that, the public can weigh in on important decisions like this and shape the outcome. The outcome of this decision was very much shaped by the input that we received and the commentary that was sent to the URA in advance of today's meeting, and by the work of Representative Gainey and Councilman Lavelle and Councilwoman Gross. Next, we have a multifamily project at Southside Works. And I think Adelaide is going to present on this too.
Yes. Southside Works multifamily project is the proposed new construction of a 7-story residential building along the Monongahela Riverfront in Pittsburgh's Southside neighborhood. The complex will include indoor and outdoor residential amenity space, upgrades to the Southwater streetscape, and linkages to the Heritage Trail. Today's request is to accept the proposal and enter into a disposition contract with Samara Road or related entity. And next slide, please. We're excited to partner with Samara Road to complete the last phase of this brownfield redevelopment. After over 6 months of extensive negotiations, we've managed to extract several concessions from the developer that will deliver key benefits to Pittsburgh residents. While the initial development agreement did not impose any conditions on Samara Road, the developer has graciously committed to go above and beyond the original agreement and help advance the URA's mission by providing several public goods. In addition to revitalizing a former steel mill brownfield site, which requires major geotechnical and remediation work, Samara Road will, in its redevelopment of the Southside Works site, create 17 affordable units at the neighboring Southside Flats property, invest more than $4.7 million in public infrastructure and improvements, including adding arts, lights, an ice skating rink, a playground for kids, and a modern town square to the area, all of which will be publicly accessible and feature-free events. Increase higher MWBE participation goals for the project from 17% to 25% for minority-owned businesses and 17% to 10% for women-owned businesses. And finally, Samara Road will offer 5,000 square feet of discounted commercial space to locally based businesses. As part of this proposal, the URA will amend the development agreement to extend development rights through 2026 and increase the viability of future projects. Representing the development team today is John Reeser, Director of Acquisitions at Samara Road, who will be happy to answer any questions.
So this isn't necessarily a question, but it's more of an observation. We're calling it a multi-family project, but towards the issue Chief Powell often brings up, there's only studios, 1 and 2 bedroom units, which means you're not really addressing families.
Just another, and I guess this is also not a question, but more of an observation, but acknowledging certainly that there are, significant and meaningful concessions that the developer made that were not included in the original option agreement here. And again, keep in mind, this goes back to SOFR's development rights, right? So SOFR had the development rights from an original deal that from a different era of the URA, and then Samara Road inherited or bought out those development rights, and then we had extended them a year or so ago. And that original deal didn't include any obligation to provide affordable retail space or to do park improvements, or to increase a commitment to minority-owned businesses in the construction process or anything like that. So, certainly acknowledge all of those positive outcomes. And it didn't include any obligation for affordable housing, and there's some commitment to affordable housing here. But I just want to note that, 20% of units in the existing and neighboring Southside Works, the flats building, is a smaller number than 20 or even 10% would be in the new building. So the existing building has 83 units, so that's going to generate 17 units of affordable housing. I don't know if we know what the sort of size or bedroom makeup of those is. That would be helpful to know.
14 one-bedrooms and 3 two-bedrooms.
Okay, thanks. The new building's going to have 246 units.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed that. Say that again. Say that last part again. I missed it when you talked about the bedrooms. I missed that part.
14 one-bedrooms and 3 two-bedrooms.
And, I think one advantage there is that that's in an existing building. So in theory, those 17 units could be made available immediately, not at the end of construction. The new building, is got to note, is going to have 246 units. So 20% in that building would be 49 units. 10% in that building would be 25 units. And what the developer is committing to delivering is more than they were obligated to do by the option agreement, but it's 17 units in an existing building.
I have a question about the flats. Are we up to can we ask questions yet?
Of course.
So a concern that I have, while it's wonderful that they'll be working on making sure that there are affordable units on the flats side of the development, concern would be that the affordable units would look, feel, be different than the ones at market rate. Could you talk a little bit about how you plan to ensure that the luxury amenities or whatnot that you have in the main development will be visible and within the flats portion of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Adelaide, can you unmute Andrew Donchez as well? He's our Director of Development. I believe he's on.
Adelaide, thank you for unmuting me. As John said, my name is Andrew Donchez. I'm Director of Development. To address your question with the Southside Flats, the Southside Flats is just up the street from this proposed project. The project is currently all market rate. We've been undertaking a significant capital improvements project at Southside Flats, which includes updated units, replacing kitchen cabinets, floors, renovation of all the amenity spaces, lobbies, etc. The units, the affordable units at Southside Flats will be identical to all the market rate units. So we would characterize them as Class A units. They would be indistinguishable from the affordable units would be indistinguishable from the market rate units. They would all be identical.
Okay, thank you.
On the affordable retail space, where the commitment is 5,000 square feet at $15 per square foot, How does that compare to the market rate rents for retail space at Southside Works?
Yeah, not to give away all of our secret sauce that our competitors get to hear, but I'd say if it's location and size dependent, but on average, a 5,000 square foot space on Carson Street would be above $30 a square foot. And the interior locations were high 20s.
And do you envision that as a single 5,000 square foot space or multiple smaller spaces? I don't know what the
so it's probably a mix. 5,000 is a fairly big space. Just for reference, Back to the Future recently moved in about a 1,200 or 900 square foot space. It's a minority owned business. One of our woman owned business, Beyond the Bleach, she's in about 1,300 square feet. So I think it'll probably range somewhere between 1 to 3,000 square foot spaces. So it's probably comprised of 2 or 3 different spaces.
Could you also oh, sorry, Sam, go ahead.
I was just wondering how those tenants will be selected.
Hard to say. I mean, through our natural marketing efforts, we were able to secure Back to the Future and Beyond the Bleach. Our leasing team is up to speed on the type of tenants we are looking for. And, with Southside Works, we've always been trying to bring more local tenants to our property. So I think it will naturally occur just through our marketing efforts. Obviously, speaking in public forums like this about the opportunity is helpful. So we have a targeted market approach for those locally owned businesses.
And I think this is Andrew Doncic again. I think we would collaborate with the URA. We obviously have some tenants that we think could be potential fits, and we would look to collaborate with the board and the staff on other opportunities and other potential tenants that would benefit from this discounted space.
I know at one point you were talking extensively about green space being a part of this project. Just for those listening on the call, could you talk a little bit about the public infrastructure and investments that you plan to make?
Sure, yeah, I'll let John take that one.
Okay. So green space improvements on the north lot, which is between American Eagle and the Hyatt House. We had a summer concert series. We put in a bunch of mulch, seating, brought in food trucks and had free events all summer long for music on the weekends and movies. Actually, it's rained almost every Wednesday through the summer, but the intent was to have free movies playing every Wednesday. Additionally, within the town square, which is in front of the Cheesecake Factory, we are about to start construction and develop a redone town square that includes a stage, includes vendor kiosks, has green space, park space, seating. We'll be putting a playground in on Tunnel Park, and we'll be putting the dog park in on Tunnel Park as well. That includes a vendor space and free space for local residents to bring their dogs. On the east lot, we've installed statues of penguins. We're going to have a community event with the Penn's Foundation to paint those penguins coming up in September. We've put a mural on one of the garages there that you can see from across the river. And we continue to invest in public art. We have Baron Batch as our resident artist on site. So anything else I missed, Andrew?
One additional thing to note, we've also taken on the long-term maintenance obligations of all the public URA-owned spaces within Southside Works.
Yeah, in the South Shore Riverfront Park, that's right.
Other questions or concerns?
I have a question.
Yep.
How many blocks does this take up? So from the picture, it just looks really, really long and almost like it could sort of be a wall to everything else to the river.
Yeah, I think the perspective and the rendering is a little misleading. It is a long building, it is a large building, but it's effectively one tax lot, one block on South Water Street. But I think based on the South Side Works master plan, the overlays was always intended to be developed as one cohesive project.
Which block? Just help me understand. I'm just trying to envision it. Like if I'm at there's the Hofstra House, where you to the right.
So this is just to the, what direction am I? North, just to the west of Hofstra House, right along the Riverfront Park and the Heritage Trail.
Okay.
Right up from the marina.
So it's just that one lot. Okay.
Yep, it's just that one lot. That's correct.
If you look in the bottom image, the Hofstra House is to the left with the blue awning, blue and white awning.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Adelaide, would be the final action on this?
No, we will return to board to approve the final drawings and financing at a later date. This is the acceptance of the proposal.
Got it. Thank you. So I wonder if it would be helpful for the board to have a more detailed presentation on the sort of financial underpinnings of the deal, particularly with respect to the feasibility for any additional units of affordable housing. I know this is something that the development team and the staff have worked on a lot over the last weeks and months. But this is a big project and the last piece of a puzzle in, decades-long development of Southside Works. And, bluntly, we're not going to get a chance to redo this. So, there's a lot of positive outcomes here. I want to really acknowledge that and commend the development team for working so hard with the leadership of the URA to get as far as you've come. But I at least have some questions about, why are we talking about 20% of units in an existing building as opposed to 10 or 20% of units in the new building, which is obviously much, much larger, and perhaps understanding the kind of the financial constraints of the actual project itself might help the board to better to sort of grapple with this decision. In which case, a sort of more detailed presentation between now and our next meeting might be available, might be appropriate.
I think we would be happy to do that. In a nutshell, the project does fall apart financially when you start adding affordable units to the complex, because there is such a large rent differential, and the development will be unable to sustain a first mortgage. The construction costs also would exceed the value of the property, making it unattractive to investors. But happy to hold a separate session to run through the financial modeling.
Yeah, I would also be curious, just to understand a little bit more. And I understand some of your concerns, Adelaide, but I know that the URA has been, and developers have been creative in the past. But I would, ultimately like to understand some of the, Sam said, financial underpinnings a little bit more for voting.
I would agree. I would like that as well. I like to have a more in-depth analysis, so I have a better understanding myself.
Yeah, to Adelaide's point, we'd be happy to do that. We put this project through the financial ringer. We kind of took their pro forma and pressed them to do a 20% set aside of affordability, and we were convinced the reasons Adelaide mentioned and others, including the crazy increase in construction costs recently, the fact that there's a serious geotechnical or soil conditions that have to be remediated on the site, together with some of the other constraints that the project just couldn't support a 20% set aside. So we'd be happy to run through that analysis with you. And I think it should be mentioned too that typically a project with this level of affordability, albeit in another building, would be seeking and would get a tax abatement. They're not getting a tax abatement here. This is something that they are kind of taking on their own shoulders here. So, but yeah, we'd be happy to run you through the financial modeling on this.
I think that might be good. And again, I'm not like needing to, discount any of the work that has been done by, the URA staff or the development team on this. But I do think it might be helpful for the board to see that analysis and have a presentation for the whole board. So with that in mind, do we need a motion to table an agenda item for a month? Or I think if we just
you could have an option to to vote on it with the briefing being a condition to further action, or you can have a motion to hold for a month.
Okay, thank you. I would suggest a motion to hold for 1 month pending, board briefing on the, the financial analysis that staff has done.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again. The Samara Road team, thank you for your presentation today and for showing up and for continuing to work closely with the staff on moving this forward. I think this is sort of a necessary step in getting the information to all of us so that we can really make an informed decision here.
Yeah, thank you all for your time.
Yeah,
And,
Chairman Williams was going to add, we appreciate it. We've worked very closely with Greg and Adelaide and the staff. I think we've provided them a lot of information on why this project has to be kind of put together this way. I would just add and ask the board to consider that, this is a long vacant lot that, as you mentioned, is kind of the last piece in the investment in Southside Works. And for us, we view this as an investment in the overall project, not necessarily just this individual project, which includes all the investment in public spaces, the leasing to local tenants, including Fred Rogers and others, all of that, public spaces, et cetera. We think that's an important part of this project. We think it's an important part of the continued revitalization of Southside Works. And we look forward to continuing our partnership with the URA.
Okay, well, thank you. I think the feeling is mutual. All right, so then now we're on to Hazelwood and Woods Village.
Yes, next for your consideration is Woods Village.
Adelaide, sorry, wrong slide, I apologize.
The Woods Village project, we heard some public comments earlier. It is the proposed new construction of a mixed-use project in Pittsburgh's Hazelwood neighborhood. Today, we are requesting authorization to give Oak Moss Consulting exclusive negotiation rights to 47 publicly owned parcels surrounding the Woods House, a historic landmark which the developer recently turned into a Scottish restaurant. Next slide, please. Row houses previously occupied the now cleared parcels, but the land has stood vacant for the past 40 years and has been overtaken by nature. The developer, Krish Pandya, is interested in doing an infill project here. He has a general development scheme, which is to build a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom duplex homes featuring small ground floor retail spaces. The purpose of this board action is to give the developer more site control and flexibility as he explores his concept and advances conversations with lenders. The developer hopes to make this the first opportunity zone project in Pittsburgh. The project has generated significant community interest, as you heard earlier today. Krish will continue to engage community members to workshop the concept and flesh out his proposal. He will explore both affordable housing and a job training program to be contingent upon financing. Once he advances his financing, he'll be able to nail down the exact number of affordable units as well as determine the viability of an apprenticeship program that will aim to train residents in the construction trades. As part of this approval, the developer will need to commission several environmental and ecological studies to assess the suitability of the site. Developer will need to prepare a zoning plan, which outlines the benchmarks the project must hit to turn hillside parcels into a dense multifamily residential development. And finally, the developer will need to demonstrate how the site will be developed in accordance with the Greater Hazelwood Neighborhood Plan. Representing the development team today is Krish Pandya, Managing Member of Oak Moss Consulting, who will be happy to answer any questions.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Good afternoon. This is Krish Pandya from Oak Moss. Just first, thank you for the opportunity to present the project to the board, and thank you to Adelaide and other URA members and staff for working with us over the last year or so on the concept of this project. But just to touch on a few quick points, and then I can answer any questions. It is our intent to make sure that we align with the Greater Hazelwood Neighborhood Plan when it comes to connectivity, walkability, and family housing, and our intent to continue working with the residents to make that happen. We are looking at creating affordable retail space for small local businesses as a small part of this. The initial discussions with the community have been really focused on adding more 3 and 2 bedroom homes, because there has been a serious gap of family rental housing in Hazelwood. And we've changed our focus to kind of build our unit concepts around that. Each unit has its own parking, and the retail space has a parking lot as well, so that the congestion on the street is limited. We also wanted and have been working over the last 6 to 12 months with some local contracting and construction companies to create a sort of level 1, level 2 type construction training apprenticeship program, which would not replace any existing programs, but could be a good opportunity for us to take advantage of this project, as well as some of the other construction projects that are going to happen in the region. And lastly, Hazelwood being an opportunity zone, we really thought this would be a great catalyst to raise interest and create a market-based project with some affordable housing, and it gets some opportunity zone investments in a timely fashion, and put some focus around Hazelwood. So those are some of the principles. We, like Adelaide mentioned, we intend to take the environmental comments very seriously. One of the first few things that we're going to be doing once we have access is a geotechnical survey, a stormwater management study, and all that will be incorporated into the next stage of engineering and design and presented. We will also, we've made a few changes already to preserve as much green space as we can, but we're going to be looking and working with the environmental planners and the councilmen on how we can maintain a certain green corridor, and even find a way for us to be, take on the obligations of maintaining the adjacent greenway, which is connected to the development. So let me just stop there and see if anybody has any questions or comments or even recommendations for us as we move forward.
Any questions or comments? Who is the Opportunity Zone Fund?
So we've there's a couple of letters of interest we've got, and some of those are under confidentiality agreements, but we have one Opportunity Zone Fund that has provided a letter of interest for a significant portion of investment right now. Obviously, that is subject to further development and pressure testing the returns and the costs on the project. But so far, we've got one fund that's interested.
Is it a local fund or a national fund? Or?
It is actually a local fund.
Interesting. Okay. And can you say a little bit more about the job training or job placement program that you're contemplating?
Absolutely. So we've been working with a company called Dots and another group of another construction company to develop a 12-week basic training program. And the purpose of the program is not to replace any union supported training program, but just build the general awareness of people on some basic trades before they can step on any construction site. And as the program is progresses, it's about 12 weeks of classroom training, and we'd be looking for setting up some space in Hazelwood to do that. But following that, the last piece of the training, we wanted to time it with the activities on the project. So as the last final piece of this training, people would be actually working on site after they've passed certain safety standards, as well as they're fit to be able to be on site. And the purpose is, after this, when they do apply for any certified apprenticeship programs, they start off at a different level, and they have a much better chance of getting accepted as well as performing better.
I mean, that sounds like a laudable goal. There are existing pre-apprenticeship programs in Pittsburgh that have automatic placement in apprenticeships and therefore lead directly to longer term, higher wage careers in the building trades.
Mm-hmm.
And I would prefer to see you working with an existing program like that actually guarantees that the participants are going to end up in a long-term family sustaining career, as
Yes.
opposed to potentially a pathway into a lower paid non-union construction job, which doesn't really meet the URA goals of creating quality job growth for the city of Pittsburgh.
No, that's a fair comment, and we can look at doing that as well. I don't have it right in front of me, but we have a list of these programs that you talked that we have started socializing. So I think this would be a good discussion to have with them, so that we're not reinventing the wheel. But the whole idea here is to leverage the project and provide an opportunity for folks to participate while the construction is going on in a safe manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense, and it's kind of what we have tried to do in the Lower Hill as well. But I think on the back end of the project, people are better off if they're then in a career and don't have to go looking for a job in the construction industry and probably hop from project to project and probably get lower wages than if they ended up automatically with an apprenticeship and a career.
Absolutely.
And it also then helped to diversify the construction and building trade unions.
Yep. No,
Right.
I absolutely. That's a very good point.
I had a question. Oh, I'm sorry, Sam. Keep cutting you off. I had a question about affordability at this point. I don't know if you can speak to the levels that you'd like to reach, and then about for the residential as well as for if you have any intentions for affordable commercial space.
Yes, and we've set some high level. There's a good question. There's set some high level goals for us. We are targeting 20% and somewhere between 60 to 80% AMI. But a lot of this is contingent on us actually completing the next phase of project development, finalizing the cost structures and our fine pro formas and the financials, and of course, getting support from the lenders to be able to manage that. We feel we can get there, and we've been talking with Adelaide and Nick on ways that we could potentially improve the financials of the project through whether it be through tax abatements or other programs. We haven't even looked at those right now. We've kind of just focused on getting the basic project developed, the concept developed. But in this next phase is when we'll be able to pull all these levers. And our goal would be to try and get to 20% affordability across all the 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom units, 1-bedrooms, whatever mix makes sense working with the URA. And then, in terms of the level of affordability, I think that's a function of, how, if we can make this thing an attractive project from a market perspective that can subsidize these, the better off we're going to be. So good question, and we want to work with the URA to pin all that down.
Thank you.
My last question is, what was the original use of this space before it got retaken by nature?
It was housing. It was literally. I mean, if you look at historically, this has been a highly dense housing community neighborhood with a lot of people working at GNL Steel and others. And as you go back further on, so it was a highly dense community, and that's the reason. Even when you look at the size of the parcels, there's a lot of parcels, but the size of each parcel is extremely small. So there were small homes or houses there. And at one point, there were townhomes as late as 2000, and I would say 2008 or 9, when the last rows of townhomes were essentially evacuated or left to fall down. And that's one of the reasons we feel like the geotechnical studies are going to be important, because we don't know what is sitting there. We suspect there's going to be a lot of old houses and debris, which we'd want to try and understand in the next phase a little better as we build out our engineering and design plans.
Okay.
Other thing, I think on top of that, I know that you still have a lot of investigative work to do with the geotechnical surveys and what have you, but has there been any interest or exploration on trying to include maybe a green space within this project, or working to maybe if there's another adjacent plot of land that that nature has retaken, maybe try to work to permanently preserve that? Any questions, or excuse me, any conversations in those realms?
Yes, absolutely. So when we started, if you look at, it's a small picture, but if you look at our master plan, initially we had units all the way up to Sylvan. And in the discussions that we had, one of the things we decided to do was pull down all the units from Sylvan to allow that green space and maintain that green space. The other thing we wanted to do is there's 2 sets of steps that are connecting Monongahela and Sylvan on the left and the right hand sides, which are really in bad shape. And if you look at it, it stops people from moving in the community between Sylvan and Monongahela. And everything on the left hand side of the picture, as I look at it, is where the greenway starts officially. So what the things that we have talked about, and this is a conversation that will continue with the community, is how do we actually enhance the green space and the greenway that we're sitting next to it? How do we improve the connectivity? And so this draws people into the development, into green spaces in the development, but improves the connectivity into the greenway through the development. And what can we do with the walkways around it to make sure that now you see more traffic from the community going into the green spaces and enjoying it? And the last thing that I'm committed to working with, we are committed to working with the councilman and the community is, if there are certain obligations that we can do, and there is definitely an opportunity to maintain the greenway better, right adjacent development. We'd be happy to see how we can participate in that process and improve that connectivity, as well as take on some of those maintenance obligations.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? This is what's being asked is the beginning of exclusive negotiations. So during which time, I think we should expect progress on, hammering out the details on affordability and trying to go as deep and as broad as possible. And I think you should expect additional questions on this job training program, and perhaps we can help link you to the folks running like the Intro to the Trades program or the APRI Breaking the Chains of Poverty program, or some of those already existing programs that do provide a pathway into a longer term career.
Absolutely. No, that would be great.
So unless board members have concerns with moving forward with exclusive negotiations, again, this would come back to us 2 more times, I think, right?
Correct, before we convey the deed to the developer.
Yeah. I think you know, certainly part of what we heard in public comment was, and what seems to be apparent here is you know, eagerness on the part of the developer to engage with the community and listen and accept feedback. So there's some concerns here, but we have time to work them out. Any other thoughts or questions? And if not, then I think I would ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion is seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. This one on Hunt Armory is being held because they weren't MWBE compliant yet. So we'll come back to that.
No motion is necessary for that one.
Yeah, thank you. And then finally, we have the Somerset at Frick Park extension, Paul Martinchik.
Hi, Paul Martinchik, engineering manager at the URA, requesting approval for construction of the Squirrel Hill South Somerset at Frick Phase 2 Frick Park extension. Enter into agreement for construction with John Zatola Landscaping in amount not to exceed $2,224,819.24. Additionally, enter into agreement for construction management, construction inspection services with Cosmos Technologies in an amount not to exceed $85,000. Both of these contracts will be funded with the Somerset Tax Incremental Financing, or TIF, fund. Next slide. Just a little bit in additional information. So this is the last part of the Somerset at Frick development, you know, residential in it, and it's a 2-acre park overlooking the Mon Valley. We're looking to start construction this fall and finish that out next spring and early summer. So we'll be doing general site grading right now. There's just a lawn green space that is a cap to the existing slag dump. As you all know, this was originally a slag dump that's been converted to residential development. So we'll have landscaping. We'll be planting trees, shrubs, perennials, and have some open lawn space for recreation. Other amenities are there's a pavilion at either end of the park, and there's a center kind of rose garden in the middle with a couple of arbors flanking either side, and there's also some swings from the arbors as well for just kind of hanging out. We also have stormwater management in the form of a bioretention area toward the far end of what the picture is there. And in addition to this, we're going to do repairs to the existing sidewalk along Parkview, where there's a degraded slate tiles in the sidewalk. We're replacing that with exposed aggregate strips. In terms of our MWBE compliance, the contractor is committed to over MWBE. Right now, we're working up the percentage. He's got a very good percentage in the women-owned. We want to get a few more percent out of the MBE, and we're working with them on that. I'd also like to note is Cosmos Technologies is going to be providing the CMCI services, and they are a minority firm. So under that contract, we'll have 100% MWBE participation. I'd like to also note, as this is this will become a city park, an extension of Frick Park, and will be owned and maintained by the Department of Public Works of the city. There's also a commitment for an art enhancement in this. We put out an RFP several months ago, interviewed several artists, and selected Tim Cullen, a local artist who does a lot of public work. You've probably seen his work around the city. And we're currently working with the community on that design of the art. And so that'll be a nice enhancement to the project. I guess any questions at this point?
Question? Sorry, was that a motion?
So moved. I got a sticky mute button, sorry.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Paul, sorry, I mispronounced your last name.
It's okay. I do it myself sometimes.
And finally, we have the disclosure agenda. And if there are no questions or highlights to pull out from the disclosure agenda, then a motion to approve it in its entirety would be in order.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And that concludes today's meeting. Unless there's any good and welfare or other announcements, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So move.
Second.
Motion and any further discussion, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. We'll see everybody on October the 7th, I think. No, the 14th, October the 14th. And then board members should be on the lookout for an email trying to schedule an executive session on the Samara Road briefing.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody.